United States Soccer Federation presents the U.S. Soccer Podcast.
I'm your host, Megan Klingenberg. One thing I promised you is an all-access pass that you wouldn't get on any other show. And we found out that whoever comes on scores a goal. Burhope, Freeman, Trusty. U.S. Soccer Podcast magic is real, people. We still got plenty of coverage all throughout this World Cup. Okay, let's get into it.
The U.S. Soccer Podcast, presented by Henkel. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
This Jocks 94.5 podcast is brought to you by Millennium Satellite and Video. Log on to msbnow.com. TV excellence everywhere. That's Millennium. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning starts now.
McElroy Cubelic in the morning on Jocks 94.5. Glad to have you with us here as we continue to roll along. Hour number 3 here in Cashers, North Carolina. Hour number 3 here in Birmingham, Alabama. 10 o'clock here locally where I am, and 9 o'clock there where you are. I hope everyone's Friday's off to a terrific start. I don't know about y'all this weekend. This week's been weird for me. It's felt like a holiday week, but not really. Kind of like getting back to season time, kind of getting back to work a little bit, like catching up. It's been strange, but it's been really enjoyable. Like I'm kind of ready for the season. Like I feel like I've finally flipped the switch. Finally ready to start getting it going, and very much looking forward to what's coming up here in about 6 days when we head to Tampa for SEC Media Days. 6 days, I mean 6 shows. So I speak in shows, sorry. Weekends don't even count anymore. They don't even count. But I'll tell you what does count is the quality that you're going to receive from Polar Bear Services. Wes and the guys do an amazing job. I love these guys. Weston's become a friend. Love calling them anytime. Well, I don't love calling them because oftentimes when I call them, it's because something's gone wrong at the house. The good news is I know something's going to get fixed quickly because Polar Bear Services can help you in a lot of different ways. They can help you with your plumbing. They can help with your electrical. They can do whole home generator install. They can obviously help with your HVAC system. And we know we've had some scorchers the last couple of weeks. It's been hot. My HVAC system, I'm sure yours has too. It has been put to the test. But my system is running smoothly thanks to my friends at Polar Bear Services. So remember, if you got a problem with your electrical, plumbing, heat, or air, just pick up the phone and call the Bear. It's 205-497-BEAR. That's 497-BEAR. All right, we welcome in. He's Wilson Alexander. Does a great job for On3 Sports. Been reading his stuff for a long time. Always very grateful. He's a Georgia grad, but now is working in Louisiana. Spent a lot of time covering the LSU Tigers. So Georgia covering LSU, Wilson. Let's start with that. Challenging or easy?
It was never a challenge for me. I mean, partially to, I try to take objectivity very seriously. And so even if I was a Georgia grad who was covering Florida, I would not let that get in the way. But with LSU, I never even had to try to do that because growing up as a kid watching, Georgia football and everything, like they hardly ever played LSU. So right. LSU was just like that weird thing over in the distance. It was like, what is that? And so, no, never an issue. But I swear it would not be within the other school either.
No doubt about it. Awesome stuff. It's really good, and I think it's awesome. And one of your things you referenced, you talked about Florida and covering Florida, and you did a really neat piece. I thought it was terrific about Billy Napier. And I for those that haven't read it, go check it out. On3.com. They have a lot of good stuff, and Wilson does a great job for them. But you had a conversation with Billy Napier about what happened at Florida. And for those that haven't read the piece, we'll post it here at some point from our Twitter handle. From what you learned about his process, help us understand what went into writing the piece and what your takeaways were from writing it.
Well, what went into writing it was just, this sort of a desire to talk to somebody who, in Billy Napier, who had failed, frankly. Like, what do you learn from that? Where do you see yourself going wrong, and how do you get better as a coach? Because Billy's only in his 40s, and if he wants to keep coaching as he is now at James Madison, then he has to continue to, there's still a road ahead of him as a head coach. And now he's going to a team that was tops in the Sun Belt, has sent its past 2 coaches to Power 4 jobs, and just was in the college football playoff. And so I think it was really interesting listening to him because he was willing to be reflective. Sometimes people aren't, right? But here in what he knew would be a public setting, in a way, he was willing to be. And 2 things that really jumped out was that he offered up himself. I said, how did you come to the decision not to call plays at James Madison? And what he said was that he thought he was probably a little stubborn in not giving that up at Florida, holding on to it the way that he did, even though that Florida offense was not getting the job done. One of the things that he talked about was saying, quote, once my back was against the wall, I wasn't confident or comfortable enough to hand that over to somebody else, end quote. And then he also mentioned sort of coming to the conclusion that he should have delegated more to people on his staff. That basically, like, he wasn't able to, like, handle play calling and everything else that came with being a head coach in the NIL era all at once with the level of detail that he needed to have, even though Florida had a very large staff. That was sort of the conclusion that at least that he has come to over the past few months, so that he didn't do a good enough job of that. So he's trying to make some changes now and evolve as a head coach at James Madison.
Well, it's fascinating too, and I think in failure, it's easy to reflect back and say what you do differently, understandably, right? But Billy Napier, and we talk about this a lot with Steve Sarkisian and others that still call the plays. But with all the workload that now comes with NIL, it's oftentimes better to delegate and you focus solely on the day-to-day operation of running the organization. So do you think other coaches can learn from Billy's experience of having tried to stay as the play caller and yet not necessarily doing what he needed to do to win enough games to keep his job?
People can certainly learn from that. Like if there's a problem in your organization and in this case a football team and you're not able to get the job done, especially not just necessarily in 1 year, but like over a sustained period of time, right? I mean, Billy Napier for 3 years at Florida, they weren't getting it done on the opposite side of the ball. They were making mistakes. They were doing things that shouldn't happen at Florida. And then at least going into that fourth so critical year, like, okay, if this isn't working, then even though they had that nice jump at the end of the 23 season when DJ Lagway was playing really well, it's like you should probably have the ability to see and not take maybe quite so much pride in the fact that you've done this for so long, but the ability to see like, hey, this isn't working anymore and I do need to change something. And it's easier to do that maybe once you've been fired and you're sort of forced to look that in the face. That's probably what happened here with Billy. But at least now he is looking that in the face, and he is making a change to James Madison. He's not calling plays. They've hired an offensive coordinator there who will be doing that, and so he is giving that up, and he's trying to delegate more. And it's easy to say those things. Now you actually have to go obviously and follow through with it, not just talk the talk about evolving and changing, but actually follow through. And it sounds like he's at least trying to do that.
Visiting with Wilson Alexander on3.com does a great job. You also have a bunch of articles up here, just looking through all your feed, man. You've written a lot. You must be a busy man. Do you have kids? How do you write this much? It's incredible.
No kids yet.
All right, well, there you go. It explains it, especially in the summertime. But it's amazing how much stuff you have. Is your golf game good?
It's gotten better.
There
but
you go.
We need to keep working on putting, Greg. We're not a good enough putter yet.
Putting's overrated. It's at least come on. I mean, nobody wins with the flat stick. It's all driver. Hit it out of bounds. Just hit it a long way and send a message. That's what I say.
Right.
You also did and look, this is more for me. This is selfish. But I don't know how much of our listening audience is going to be dialed into NC State football this year. Probably not going to be a lot. But for those that are paying attention to quarterback play and you like quarterback play, highly recommend you take a peek at what CJ Bailey does at NC State this year. This guy's a dude. And you had a chance to sit down with him, and a lot of people were going after him and trying to tamper with him, but he decided to stay at NC State. So help us understand, I guess, more bigger picture. When you're a top-flight quarterback like CJ Bailey is, what does the process of being tampered with look like?
Yeah, that's a great question. That was maybe one of the things that was most interesting in talking to him. For him, it was around the time, basically in December, once the season ended, and they played their bowl game on December 19th. In the 2 weeks between that and the sort of in the lead up to the bowl game, and then the 2 weeks between that and the transfer portal actually opening on January 2nd, he was getting calls from teams that wanted him to enter the portal. And there was basically discussions on the front end about what his offer would look like, and sort of all that recruitment process happening, even though he wasn't in the portal. And this isn't like necessarily this is common these days that this happens. Like, and CJ was pretty nonchalant about it, saying how he'd heard a couple schools out. He talked to a ton, actually literally heard out like a smaller number than that, but ultimately was able to get things done to stay at NC State. He said for him that he always wanted to stay at NC State. There was a trust between him, their offensive coordinator Kurt Roper, their head coach Dave Doran, but they also needed to kind of make things work financially and give him an understanding of who was going to be around him. Because NC State, they lost like everybody around him. Their top receivers, their top running back, 3 of their offensive linemen, they're all gone, either because they graduated or they hit the portal themselves. But NC State was able to make it work financially and make it kind of worth his while financially to stay there. And so then on January 2nd, the day the portal opens, NC State announces that he's staying. Sure enough, he actually follows through on that and does. And that is sort of what the process looked like for him, though. It was interesting listening to how there was a lot done before the transfer portal even opened, actually getting it settled that he was going to stay at NC State when a lot of teams wanted him to come transfer.
But so they just flat out pick up the phone, a team will pick up the phone, or someone will call maybe his representative? Like, is it done through a third party, or is it just straight to the source? Hey, dude, we want you. Go in the portal. We'll make it worth your while. How does that? What?
Yeah, right. Most of that is happening like through an intermediary of some kind. Like mainly nowadays, the agent. But you can still maybe go through a family member or a high school coach or something like that. But this day and age, especially with a guy like CJ, like they have an agent. That's usually who it's happening through. CJ said that he himself talked to a ton of teams. I don't know how common that is or not, but that's at least what he said in his case, was that he was actually hearing from these people himself. Maybe he meant his agent instead, but that was the words that he used.
Very interesting. As we visit with Wilson Alexander, does a great job for On3 Sports. Ton of articles up. Go to On3 Sports, check out Wilson Alexander. You'll find a bunch of cool stuff. Also detailed in there, a lot of stuff on the Group of 5, which I find fascinating right now because I think we're at a weird stage in college football where the G6 has always flown under the radar. That's not new. I think, though, more than we've seen maybe in the past, you're seeing a lot of G6 quarterbacks that ball out that are now taking the next step to the next level. So I find, and my friends that are hardcore transfer portal junkies, they're watching a lot of G6 football knowing that, man, one of these quarterbacks might either be on my team next year or they could beat me next year. So as you put together a list, who are some of the G6 quarterbacks we should be paying attention to coming into this season?
The one that comes to mind off the top is Brad Jackson at Texas State, who is someone I doubt people really know much about. I mean, heck, I didn't watch much Texas State football last year, and he was tearing up the Sun Belt as a first-year starter, a redshirt freshman. I mean, 71.3% completion percentage, over 3,000 yards. I mean, total yards, he almost had 4,000 total yards because he can also run. He had 21 touchdowns through the air, 17 on the ground, and because he's a young guy too, like this is somebody who he's making a little bit of a jump from the Sun Belt into the Pac-12. The Pac-12, growing back again this year, has added some of the best teams out of the Mountain West. And so he's probably going to face some tougher competition. How is he going to handle that on a week-in, week-out basis? But it also isn't a full-on jump to the Power 4. If he has another big year, this is somebody who we were just talking about tampering. He will be tampered with if he had probably again. If he puts up big numbers like that. And that is the other thing about him is he's got some size. He's like 6 foot, 200 pounds. Whereas some G6 quarterbacks, think about Micah Aledo at Hawaii, Maddox Madsen at Boise State. Like those guys are under 6 feet. And so they're not necessarily have those sort of like desirable measurables, even though the production has mostly been there, especially in the case of Micah at Hawaii. But Micah in particular, because he's got multiple years of eligibility, he's another one that people should be paying attention to. Hawaii's got a schedule that sets up for them because they play a couple of Power 4 teams, one of them being Arizona State, where if they can continue to improve off of a 9-4 season, they might make a push for that G6 playoff spot. We'll see how it shakes out, but like they have the opportunity to do so, especially with him at quarterback. Those would be and then there's some like guys who maybe could even recycle back up to the Power 4 level after playing in the G6 this year. Michael Van Buren at USF, Jackson Arnold at UNLV, guys who have not really panned out both playing SEC football, but if they go and have really good years as a starter, then maybe they can resurface somewhere else in the Power 4 next year.
Fascinating stuff. Wilson, terrific as always, my friend. Thanks again. And once again, go check out Wilson at WHAlexander_ on Twitter. You can also check out his work on on3.com. Excellent, buddy. Look forward to talking to you again.
Thanks, Greg. Have a good rest of your day.
All right, you do the same. Wilson Alexander doing a great job for On3. Ton of different, all over the place. He's a national writer, so he hits a lot of different topics, but you get some G6, you get some NC State, you get a lot of SEC, you get a lot of different things. It's really fun. See all the different things he's able to cover there for On3, so go check it out at on3.com. All right, when we come back, eras of college football. Fascinating article that I came across the other day. Really want to get to it. I really want to know from our listeners, for you, what was the best era, because there is an article here that makes a really strong case for an era that meant an awful lot to me. I'll explain next on Mac and Q.
Don't leave Jocks back at the house. Download the Jocks 94.5 app and take us anywhere, in the car, at work, or at the game. Live audio, video, and podcasts on your schedule. The Jocks 94.5 app, wherever you may be.
Jim Rome takes on sports.
Part of what makes this show is the show within the show. The biggest topic on the show always seems to be the show itself. This is a way to give you clones a way to interact with one another. Yes, we will be going through the chat. Yes, it'll be a part of the program. The only thing that could ruin the show are the old school clones spitting up the same bull crap that they always have. The jungle is out taking names and ready to dominate. Let's get it.
The Jim Rome Show podcast. Follow and listen on your favorite platform. Jim Rome takes on sports.
Part of what makes this show is the show within the show. The biggest topic on the show always seems to be the show itself. This is a way to give you clones a way to interact with one another. Yes, we will be going through the chat. Yes, it'll be a part of the program. The only thing that could ruin the show are the old school clones spitting up the same bull crap that they always have. The jungle is out taking names and ready to dominate. Let's get it.
The Jim Rome Show podcast. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.